Alright guys, welcome. I'm going to do this video by myself today. Chudge might jump into these kind of topics later on if he gets a chance to catch up. But today I decided to do this one purely about the state of professional wrestling today. And I think a lot of people are getting a lot of bad information and they're really angry about it. Like, I know one of the biggest topics today is the NXT guys and how they're held down and somebody's screwing them over. And I don't think that's really the case. I mean, you can look at any wrestler ever, pretty much, and at some point, minus like a very insanely small number of professional wrestlers, have they ever just come in and just been like as dominant as any member of the Shield outside of Ambrose. Like, you could say like, yeah, he's only won 2 matches since the breakup, and oh man, but I mean, it's kind of in his character. Like, how many of the times has he got himself disqualified by just smashing someone with a steel chair, or just losing himself in like a match? And I agree that I didn't like the gimmicky end with the TV exploding in his face. But I mean, like, all of his matches have been pretty damn good. I mean, especially the most recent ambulance match with Bray Wyatt. I thought that was a really good match. And I mean, Roman Reigns, he's being positioned like he's the next Jesus. And you have Seth Rollins, who, the dude is great. I mean, if you don't like Seth Rollins, I don't know why you're watching professional wrestling. Like, that dude is just, he's going places. I know a lot of people have been kind of unhappy with the way Bray Wyatt's kind of been, like, after the breakup of the Wyatt family, and I agree that was kind of a dumb decision, and no one in the Wyatt family has really benefited from it, but I think you're still looking at people trying to get traction, trying to figure out where their gimmick lies. I think Bray is perfectly fine where he is. If they get him and they put him, if Taker comes back, I should say, and they have him beat Taker at WrestleMania, he's back to being golden. I don't think there's any real issue there. I think he's going to be, your number 2 heel after Rollins until Rollins turns face, and then you'll see, where Ambrose will lie when that happens. I think you'll also probably see Sheamus going the evil route, probably at the Rumble. So, we'll see where they all lie. But I know a lot of people have been really, really butthurt at the Ascension, and I don't understand why. I mean, let me give you a little background on me. I've been watching professional wrestling since 1992, I think. I mean, with some of my earliest memories, I was born in 88, and I remember SummerSlam 92. And I've watched all kinds of wrestling. I watched wrestling out of Japan. I watched wrestling out of Mexico. I watch Lucha Underground. I watch Ring of Honor when I can. I watch Dragon Gate. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm like some super wrestling, my opinion means more than you, but I mean, like, the Ascension, I think a lot of people are going, they don't look like dominant super monster heels. And it's like, they don't have to be. They're just insane heels. I think they're the greatest thing ever. Like, I think you're mad because you don't understand what they're doing. Like, to me, the Ascension are perfectly fine. I'm not a huge fan of the Fall of Man finish. I think that, like, cradle flapjack thing they used on Raw, much better. That should be their finish, just the cradle flapjack. I think they should short their names from Connor and Victor down to Con and Vic. I think that'll just 100% make them sound a lot more badass. Just because, no offense to anybody named Connor, but not exactly a super badass name. But, of course, you have the biggest news came out this week. Macho Man's going to the Hall of Fame.
Woo!
Yeah, that was Judge. So, congrats to him. I know a lot of people are really, really angry that Hogan's doing it. And to me, I feel like if you weren't going to have Lanny do it, and I could kind of understand, because I've heard Lanny say in the past that he wouldn't go if they inducted Macho Man. There's still a lot of heat between, the McMahons and the Poffos. Savage family, for those of you guys who don't know. So I could understand them not wanting to rely on Lanny. But I believe as of right now they have Steamboat under contract, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I think either him or possibly even Flair or my personal pick, DDP, would have been much better presenters. I think they have a better story to go with Savage. Not to say Hogan doesn't, but everybody knows the beef between Hogan and Savage, that Hogan alone, I believe. I've never heard Savage say, he forgave Hogan and all that stuff. Hogan says they kissed and made up before he died, but I don't know. We never saw it, so I think it's weird, but at the same time, Savage is in the Hall of Fame, I'll take it. It's one night, but then, for the rest of the time, Savage in the Hall of Fame. I think the next step WWE needs to do is get an actual physical Hall of Fame, and they need to put in a Macho Man statue. They need to build their Mount Rushmore. I think there's 5 statues that need to be made right now, with 2 more to come later. I think you need to have Bruno. They already have Andre. You need to have Macho and Hogan. You need to put Austin. I think somewhere down the line, when you want to put them in the Hall of Fame, when they finally said, you know what, I'm taking my boots and hanging them up, bronzing them, whatever, you got to do Rock and you got to do Taker. I think those are the statues, and as much as I'm not a fan of them, don't take this and be like, oh God, I love this guy. He makes Monday nights better for me. I think somewhere down the line, you got to do Cena. He's got to get his statue. Not a big Cena fan, but you can't deny the impact he's had on wrestling, whether it's good for good or bad. So some of the other guys, the other promotions around, TNA is getting ready to restart on Destination America. I actually have it, which is pretty cool. Judge, do you have Destination America? Any idea?
I have no idea.
Yeah, most people I've heard from either have no idea or they don't have it. So I'll check it out, but I don't know how long it'll last. It looks like they're putting a lot of money behind it. They were running TNA commercials during Raw, which is something Spike never did. Destination America, the day, I think it's this Friday actually, is they're premiering. They're running like an all-day TNA marathon. They're running like best of ever shows, best of 2014 shows, like all kinds of stuff. They're running commercials on their channel, hyping up TNA, getting ready to start back up. I like TNA. I think they need to find their own identity still, which is not something that should need to be said about a company that's as old as theirs right now. But I think they have the star power there. I think you're looking at a lot of guys that can go for quite a few years. I think you're looking at, if they really push towards the X Division, I think that's where they need to go. But in that same route, the next company I'm going to talk about, I think, has them dead to rights when it comes to X Division versus Lucha Underground. I can understand if you're like a really hardcore fan, because I believe on the two ends of really great wrestling, you have Japanese strong style. It's almost a sport, very stiff strikes, very realistic. Everything looks very deliberate. The other end of the spectrum of really great wrestling, you have luchador, or lucha, and that's like, it's more showy. Everyone kind of works together to put on the best match and make it look cool. And I got a feeling that is going to be the better product for American audiences. They're going to get more behind it. I know a lot of people are like, no, God damn it. You look at the power the UFC has now. Look at all the people that are buying them. But at the same time, do you want to watch football or do you want to watch fake football? Like, you can't really, it's apples and oranges. Like, you can't really take, I agree there's a very large crossover between the two in combat sport fans. I agree to that. But I don't think it's 100-100 where you can say UFC's on the rise, so professional wrestling should follow that. I think professional wrestling has a niche. It needs to stay there. I do agree it should not be dumb shit. I think the era of having lumbering giants, Big John Studd body slam challenge, that's gone. You're never going to get that back. But, that sideshow kind of feel, and I think that's where Lucha Underground It's got, the fast-paced, really awesome, really athletic shows, but it's also very fun. And I'll have to give like a giant thumbs up to Matt Stryker and Vampiro on commentary. I think they're amazing. I think they're doing great stuff. I think they're probably my favorite commentary team going right now. No offense to Taz and Mike Tenay, who's got replaced by Josh Matthews. I'm having major problems with JBL right now. In that he's like the least consistent heel announcer ever. Michael Cole, I know he's generally the online or hardcore or internet wrestling community or whatever you want to refer to yourself as. I just say wrestling fan. In my opinion, if you watch wrestling and you talk about wrestling, you're a wrestling fan. If you don't talk about wrestling, you're not a wrestling fan, period. I don't believe in anything, the dumb catchwords like casual fans. You're just people that watch it. I don't know what you're doing with the rest of your life. You just stare out a window or something. You show up at Raw, then you go home and stare at a blank screen. Stare at like a white wall, just like, I don't know. I don't understand how that works. But I mean, they are people. So, yeah. Michael Cole, I know he's hated on a lot, but I think he's doing alright. I think he has to deal with a lot of dumb shit from the back, where he's got to plug a million different things all the time, and I really wish they would tone down the banter a little bit, just because no one is calling the match. And that is like easily the number one pet peeve I have with them right now. And I understand, I heard the rumors a while ago that Vince didn't really want them to call it, and I personally hate that. I think you're doing a disservice. I don't need someone to literally point out the name of every move in a match. But what's the point of having a color commentator? Not to mention 2 color commentators, if not one of them can go, well, it appears he's working on the leg. That's all I'm asking for. I don't need you to be telling me, he's got a powerful uranagi, and he's, working his way to a belly to back, a power slam. I don't know. I don't need you guys to tell me all that shit. I would appreciate it, but it's not a necessity. But you need to at least acknowledge there's a match going on. Not like, woohoo, look at that. That was a cool move. And then go back to talking about shows from the 50s. Come on, guys. Let's just step it up. Booker T, I'm very, very mixed on him on commentary. I think he's funny, but I don't know exactly what he adds as substance. So yeah, Lucha Underground, I think, is the one I'm really enjoying. Been struggling lately to try to catch any Ring of Honor. Just finance-wise. If I get a little bit more stable, maybe I'll start picking up DVDs for PWG, Ring of Honor, New Japan. I used to really be into Dragon's Gate. You can't really catch that around here anymore. But catch a little bit of AAA, a little bit of CMLL. But I think the last topic I'm really going to discuss in this video is NXT. I know there's been this huge rumor that Vince hates NXT, and it's not true. I'll tell you right now. If you really believe that, you must be high. He might be butthurt that they like NXT more than Raw and SmackDown. I'll guarantee that's a thing. But I know a lot of people are like, the Adrian Neville Mighty Mouse gimmick, which isn't really Mighty Mouse. They want him to... They know he's small and has big ears. To be fair. Kind of looks like a mouse. So they want him to have this gimmick where he's small, but he's still strong. I have no problem with that. Then you have the Ascension, who is getting insane amounts of bad heat. I'm not really sure why. They're like, oh, he's talking shit about Animal and Hawk's dead. He can't defend himself. It's boo-hoo, they're heels. Heels say bad shit. This is exactly why we can't have a non-PG product. You'll just fucking cry about it. I couldn't imagine. And then, alright, I'm going to stick with the Ascension. There are literally people out there that are upset because they use Illuminati pictures. And you're the people crying that you want to return to the Attitude Era. Where were you when The Undertaker was literally the Antichrist and fucking crucifying Stephanie McMahon? What the hell? Like, I want the Attitude Era back. I want non-PG wrestling. Oh my god, he had a picture of an eye inside of a pyramid. I'm offended. It's like, come on. Come the fuck on. Grow up. I know. I think the Ascension is just like, they're doing alright. I mean, sure, they could look a little bit more dominant in the ring. Commentary's not doing a favor, but they'll be fine. I think it was a major mistake to have Charlotte lose to Natalya on that NXT crossover, especially in the short amount of time. Not to say like losing to Natalya Neidhart is a bad thing. I mean, she's a great wrestler, great diva. But, you know, whatever. I think you need to put Charlotte over. I think she has everything you need to be your next Trish Stratus, to have a resurgence in the women's division. I think you can book Paige to be the Lita and have a real return better. I mean, I know this is going to sound sacrilegious and a lot of people are probably going to be angry and flaming in the comments. Charlotte and Paige are better than Lita and Trish ever were in the ring. Maybe not so much Lita, but Lita was never really a clean worker. She was just really athletic. Paige and Charlotte are amazing. And especially when you realize that Charlotte's only been wrestling for 2 years. And she's that good. Like, she's only going to get better. I think one of the major selling points, though, is Rick. And I think he's literally turning to shit. I think somewhere down the line, though, you're going to see Noelle Foley probably make a run, maybe as a manager. She's appeared a few times on WWE television. She hasn't signed or anything. She's mostly doing segments with her dad as like a Christmas assistant. But she seems to be a super fan, and if I could say it, you know, she's a very pretty lady. So I think, you know, she could have a very solid part in wrestling, whether it's an actual wrestler, whether it's a manager, whether it's on-air personality, whether it's whatever. So I think you could see her make a run, and I think as much as people don't like the nepotism in wrestling, I think it definitely helps. You know, I think the biggest thing holding Curtis Axel back is not carrying his father's last name. I think if he came in as Joe Henning, he'd be fine. You know, I don't think he'd be tremendous, burning the fucking everything down, but I think he'd be good. I don't know. I think when you look at NXT, though, you have stars. I know a lot of people are like, can Roman take over Cena's spot? I think if he does, he's only going to be there for a very short time. I don't think Roman is really the guy to take over when you have Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens. Hideo, if he can adapt a little bit better. I think he's a great in-ring worker. Kenta, for those who don't really follow NXT. Great in-ring worker. I think he had a great match with Curtis Axel, actually. I think, you know, he's getting it. He just needs to get it and click and mesh, and I think he'll be great. I think you're going to see the Dudley Boys probably make a return. They'll help out the tag division. So I think, like, anybody who's worried about the state of professional wrestling right now and, like, they're like, oh, man, future's looking good, guys. I mean, I think if Daniel Bryan stays healthy, he's the only guy in the company right now that can really hang with those NXT guys, popularity-wise. Short of, like, massive, dumb gimmickness. I don't think Sami Zayn needs a gimmick, and I don't think they really give him one. Finn Balor has a gimmick, and it's working. So unless they, like, go frickin' Kool-Aid on him and it comes out covered in spikes or something, I think he should be perfectly fine. The only guy I really worry about in NXT that I think is great, and whether or not he'll be good on the main roster, is Hideo Itami, Kenta. Part of it because we've never really had a top-tier Asian wrestler, and I think we're starting to come to that time where you need to have wrestlers of different, you know, ethnicities on the top. Your world wrestling entertainment. You know, I think, you know, if we get Uhaa Nation, he's the big guy coming in that everybody's really excited for. I think he's really good. I've seen so I think he could be the next Ron Simmons. I mean, he's not quite as tall, but he's built like a brick shithouse. He's got great charisma, which I think is the only thing holding back Big E. I think Big E's funny as hell. He seems like a really nice guy, solid in-ring worker, but I just don't think he's got that charisma to carry him up to the next branch. And I know, same thing with Titus O'Neil, where Titus O'Neil has great charisma, and he's okay in the ring. He's a good mic talker, but at the same time, age-wise, and I don't think he's that good in the ring. So I think that's holding him back. But I think Uhaa Nation, he's going to be your next Ron Simmons. He's going to silence all those, WWE hates black people rumors and stuff. I think you have Kalisto, and you're going to see, a rise in luchadors from Lucha Underground. I think you're going to see more people being like, hey, we want some of these in WWE, which I really hope brings back the Cruiserweight Championship, because I think that is the most fun division, short of bringing back the hardcore belt with the 24/7 rule, which I think WWE could do. I mean, it's got a lot of, those kind of jobber, jokey guys at the bottom that really aren't going to go for championships. They're there, and it would give them something to do. I mean, it was always fun. You just shoot a quick segment somewhere and just have fun with it. It's nice, filler, and I don't know why they haven't brought it back yet. Rusev, I know a lot of people are worried that once Rusev loses that he's pretty much dead. Like, where do you go with his character? But I'm not too worried. I think he's an underrated ring worker. I think he's fine. I think his biggest problem is if they ever move Lana off of him. Like, if she was to betray him, or he was to betray her, or anything like that, that would be the only time I'd be really concerned about where they're going to go with Rusev. But at the same time, I think you could throw him in a tag team and he'd be fine. Cesaro, I think it sucks that he's not a higher tier guy in the WWE. He's a great ring worker. He's got really understated charisma, but at the same time, it's like the one time they gave him the mic and sent him out there to do some talking up for himself, he botched the line. It's like I really want him to be good, but it's all on him right now, I think. I think you're going to see Dolph Ziggler move up the tiers and toward a top competitor. He'll probably take that Del Rio spot. I think maybe as soon as WrestleMania you could see him being a heel. John Cena needs a partner. I think depending on how they book it, you could have Ziggler go over, but I think if Cena loses to Lesnar, goes into Fastlane with this advertised match, which I assume they'll change, it's just, a place filler of freaking Cena and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and The Big Show. I can't imagine I'd have Seth lose going into WrestleMania just because they need to keep him looking good. Unless Reigns wins the Rumble. But, yeah, I guess that'll be the very last thing. Rumble. I know a lot of people are really angry because it looks like Roman Reigns is going to win. I don't think he's ready. I don't want him to win. But I don't really think I'd be mad if he won. Just disappointed. I think I would hold off a year and see if he has it. I think he's solid in ring. I mean, really solid. Great seller. He's got a great look. Nobody's going to deny that. Some people call him a pretty boy, whatever. But I think he's fine. Not great. Not putting on any, spectacular matches, but I don't think that's anything he can't wrestle in the ring. He's fine. Mic work, though, holy shit. He is horrible. I don't know how he's related to The Rock, but obviously it has nothing to do with his vocal cords. His promos being written by Vince McMahon lately have just been horrible. Calling Big Show pal and telling the story of the little Roman Reigns and his magic beans, and he punched Big Show off a cloud. Oh my god, that was rough. Or the Suffering Succotash line, or the Superman promo, or any of that shit. It's just been bad. No, don't do that anymore. I think and I think I heard Saul the Monster was the one who was talking about it, where he said Roman Reigns needs to go heel. And at first I was like, I don't know. I really started thinking about it, like, as a heel, you really don't need to talk if you let your in-ring work do it for you, which is something WWE seems to just forget that they could do. So if he was almost like a pseudo-monster heel, it could work, and I think he's probably better off in that position, because it's hard to be a face and not talk. Unless you're, like, super legitly badass, and, like, Roman just doesn't come off like that. Like, I like the Superman punch, but all the dumb shit he does, like punching the ground before he does it and cocking his arm like it's a shotgun, it's a little too ridiculous. Like, he doesn't come off like that. Like, he doesn't have Ken Shamrock, Steve Blackman badassness written all over him, Kurt Angle badassness. Then again, Kurt Angle was a pretty solid talker. Not great, but solid. So, as of right now, I think, just looking at talent, WWE is so far away from its competitors that at any point, if they actually started catching up and they could open up the fucking afterburners and be gone again. I mean, they just literally need to let it go. They have so much talent right now. I wish they put on a better show week to week, but you know what? They put it on, 10 hours or so a week of wrestling. I can kind of imagine why some guys would want to hold back a little bit. So yeah, my pick for the Rumble this year, as much as I'm pretty damn sure it's going to be Roman Reigns, I think Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania is the marquee match to sell. I think anything else you're just losing money on. That is assuming Daniel Bryan's at 100%. I don't know what he's at. I think you're probably going to see less drop kicks from him, less flying headbutts, just as a safe. I don't think that really has an effect on his health. But I don't know if he's at 100. I don't know if he's, he's going to be like Stone Cold when he came back and he stopped being, he stopped being a mechanic where he was using a lot of slams and counter wrestling, became more of a brawler. I don't think that works for Daniel Bryan, but you might see him become more of a grounded, technical guy. A lot of small joint locks. I think if that happens, you could see Daniel Bryan go heel, but I don't think there's anybody... Like, literally, if Daniel Bryan just turned and kicked Cena in the head, people would cheer it. Like, I don't think there's anybody you could really have Daniel Bryan turn heel on. Maybe Ziggler, but if you're gonna have him turn heel on Cena, I don't think there's anybody really over enough that they're gonna boo Daniel Bryan for assaulting. I feel like he could come out and kick his wife in the head and they would cheer him. Like, I guess that's a good problem to have when you have somebody so over you can't turn them heel. I think Lucha Underground just had their first champion, Prince Puma, aka Ricochet, for you guys who watch the independent scene. Haven't really checked out Lucha Underground. Really great match. It's all on YouTube. They have their own YouTube page, so you can check them out if you don't have El Rey. Or you don't want to watch it in Spanish on... I can't remember what Spanish channel it's on. I think it's Telemundo 2, or Mundo 2, whatever it's called. But that's the Spanish broadcast version. El Rey is like a very small network. TNA just had some title changes. So, we'll see where they're going with them. But both Bobby Lashley and Bobby Roode, both solid in-ring workers. I like Bobby Lashley a little bit more. I think he's just a beast. I know there's a lot of hardcore Bobby Roode fans. I think he's good. Nothing against Bobby Roode. I just, there's other guys in TNA I like more. But with that, I'll wrap this up. I'll definitely say, at the very latest, I'll do another one before WrestleMania, guys. And if this has a lot more support than I think it will get, maybe I'll do them week to week. Do reviews for Raw. I don't know about doing one for everything. I just don't know if we'd have the time. But alright guys, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Dave. Judge will be back for the next video, I'm sure. And later.